Welcome to the Sebcast, the home of the #1 network for your life. This is where we think more slowly, look more deeply, and discover that one of the most dangerous things in the spiritual life is not always open rebellion. Sometimes the most dangerous sins are those that sound the most beautiful. Today we talk about spiritual excuses, that incredible ability that people have to hide behind their religious language what God actually addresses. It's amazing how creative people can be when they want to justify themselves. And the scary part is, the more spiritual language you know, the easier it sometimes becomes to hide your heart. Saul does exactly this in 1 Samuel 15. God told him to destroy everything. But Saul kept the best animals, and when Samuel confronted him, Saul didn't say, "I was disobedient." No, he said, "We wanted to offer it to God." It's incredible. He used worship language to hide disobedience. And honestly, modern Christians still do this all the time. We use spiritual phrases to protect things we actually don't want to surrender. We say, "I feel peace about it. I think God understands. I'm still praying about it. It's just how I am. Nobody is perfect." And of course, some of these things can be true, but sometimes we use spiritual language to avoid being honest. That's why Jesus was the hardest on people who looked outwardly spiritual but were inwardly insincere. Not because he wanted to humiliate people, but because he knew self-deception is more dangerous than weakness. Weak people can still ask for help. Self-deceived people think they're fine. And that's the problem with spiritual excuses. They make you think you're growing while you're actually just getting better at hiding. We live in a time where image has become everything. People shape their image through filters, captions, branding, and aesthetics. And unfortunately, we often bring this to church too. We learn how to sound spiritual, use the right phrases, quote Bible verses, and look deep while our hearts slowly harden. It's possible to talk about grace without humility, talk about truth without love, talk about faith without trust, and talk about Jesus without real surrender. Because religion can sometimes become an excellent place to hide, that's why Jesus constantly calls people back to simplicity and truth. Not performance, not image management, not religious smoke machines. Honesty. In Matthew 5, Jesus says, "Blessed are the pure in heart," not perfect in heart, pure, honest, undivided, because God is not impressed by the version of you that you try to project. He works with the real you. And maybe that's what becomes so exhausting for many people, the constant effort to look spiritually okay. It's tiring always to maintain the image. It's tiring always to have answers. It's tiring always to try to look strong. But here is the gospel. Jesus never came for people who have it all together. He came for people who are willing to be honest. People like Peter, who wept, David, who confessed, Thomas, who doubted, and the prodigal son, who returned. That's why grace is so liberating. Because grace means you no longer have to defend yourself. You can stop hiding, stop explaining, stop making excuses. You can simply say, "Lord, this is really where I am." And ironically enough, that is usually where true spiritual growth begins. Not when people become impressive, when they become honest. Maybe the question today is, what spiritual excuse do you use the most? What area do you keep explaining instead of surrendering? Because there is a big difference between a person who stumbles and a person who keeps rationalizing. One falls and turns back. The other builds stories to avoid changing. That's why we, at the #1 network for your life, believe that Jesus is not building a network of perfect people. He is building a family of honest people, people who slowly learn that truth is not something to run from, but the place where healing begins. Until tomorrow, take care.